Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Push to Pass podcast. I am Michael Monroe, one of the esteemed colleagues here on the Push to Pass podcast. And joining me tonight, as always, is Josh Roberts. Josh, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Michael. It is a beautiful day out. It's not scorching hot anymore. And I can't wait to talk about this upcoming weekend's race.
Yes, upcoming weekend at Mid-Ohio. Not too far from here, I guess. It's about a 3.5 hour drive from Indianapolis Metro, so should be a good race. Got a lot on tap for tonight. Looking forward to a great episode. Josh, let's start this thing off. Let's go ahead and look over the track map at Mid-Ohio. It's a pretty interesting layout here. As you can see, it is a 13-turn road course in Lexington, Ohio. Kind of have some good passing opportunities here. You go through the S's and the keyhole, and then through the carousel section. Josh, what stands out to you the most here on this road course?
More than a few straightaways. Typically on a road course or street course, I don't really see a lot of straightaways, but there's going to be some good chances. Coming out of three, going all the way down to four. I mean, when they get to four, it does. I mean, it looks like it's a little bit of a turn, but it's not a hairpin. So there might be some chances for some outside passing. Going from four to five is going to be a tricky one. And but overall, I mean, it looks like a nice track. Hopefully, the drivers don't on the first turn stack up as they've been tended to do in some races in the past.
Yeah, totally agree with you on those points. Looking at the facility, I feel like there's very, very few opportunities to really get yourself in trouble. There's a lot of runoff here, but passing opportunities are aplenty. Going down from one to two. If you get a good run there, going into four, like you said, and then when you come on that main straight, kind of that kink there from 12 to 13, kind of it's wide enough for two cars, but it's also can be a little chaotic for two cars. So they always seem to run through the dirt there. But it's a pretty good track when you look at everything. It is a road course, so it's a lot of walking. It's out pretty much in the middle of nowhere in Ohio. So it's interesting to see the layout. Have you ever been to Mid Ohio, and what has your experience been there?
Nope. I've always wanted to get there, but it just always something always comes up, and unfortunately, I won't be there this weekend. You'll be the lone representative of the Push to Pass podcast. Which, if we're gonna send anyone, I would send you. You're the most knowledgeable and probably the most dedicated to getting things done. So I think we're in good hands with you going this weekend. Next year I'll make sure I definitely try to get the day off and get there. But my uncle's been to this race a lot. He's been probably the last 5 or 6 years, and he says it's a great track, and like you said, it's out in the middle of nowhere, which that's all Ohio is just out in the middle of nowhere. There's not really much to do in Ohio, unlike other states. So it should be a good race. I can't wait. This being the Fourth of July weekend, with Fourth of July being on Friday, so that's a bit of a different thing. See how the crowd is, and I don't anticipate there being too much going up against this race on Sunday, so the ratings should be fairly good, I would hope.
Yeah, you bring up some good points. The racing is really good. It is 4th of July weekend, so you have a kind of an extended weekend. I know some people have obviously the Friday the 4th off, but even going in further to the weekend, you have the Monday off as well. So Very excited about the attendance. I think they're doing some fireworks Friday night for the 4th of July, which is really nice that the track is doing that. When I think of Mid Ohio, I think cornfields, and the reason I say that is the first year I went was actually for a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race, and I was just driving, and then all of a sudden, out of the cornfields, there's a racetrack. So, very interesting race facility there at Mid Ohio. Got a lot to do there. A lot of walking, like I said, some good concession stands. A lot of vendors there, like local vendors, like food truck wise and things like that, which I find very fascinating. I hope they have them this year. With the 4th of July. Hopefully, those food vendors aren't preoccupied with other events. So excited to see obviously the food options that are available, but also the different merchandise events and stands they have there. So it'll be interesting to see what's available for the fans to do this weekend.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you always want to make it a good time. The food trucks and other vendors, that come out and sell their products, but also push the race. If there's the more things to do for the fans to do at races, especially leading up to it, on Friday or Saturday, like you said, if they're letting fireworks off, that's always a great thing. You want the fan experience to push just far beyond the race, because I mean the race is the main thing that you're there for, but there's a possibility, somebody you let the fireworks off, and that's something that brings the fans back next year, because they were like, you know what, I had a really good time last year out in the middle of nowhere. So let's try that again. Let's go again. So always jam packed. Try to put as many things into the race itself to keep people coming back.
Yeah, and speaking of the schedule, let's go ahead and pull that up now. This weekend's schedule is just for the IndyCar series, but they do have the USF Pro 2000 there. They have the Indy Next by Firestone there. I always try and call them the NTT Next series, but it's the Indy Next by Firestone. And they also obviously have the NTT INDYCAR series, which hits the track on Friday, the 4th of July at 4:30 for their first practice. And then Saturday, we have practice 2 and qualifying. And then Sunday is morning warm-ups at 9:30. And 1 o'clock is race time. So early start time for the race. I know, Josh, we talk about ratings quite a bit. And, we talk about how we can improve those and things like that. But 1 o'clock start time again this week. What is your thoughts on that?
I would love for it to be at like 2 or 2:30. 1 o'clock is pretty close to the times. Typical churches on Sundays get out somewhere around 11 or so, and you want to go out and have some lunch with your friends from church or just hang out. So I would think 1 o'clock is pushing it a little bit. 2:30 I think would be a great time slot for this race. The sun will have died down a little bit, which will help the spectators that are out in the middle with very little shade. And I think it would also allow people to get home, get change, maybe even run to the store before the race for some mission chips. You've got Arrow that's sponsored by that. So I think 2:30, but we'll see how 1 o'clock does. Hopefully they can build on it.
Yeah, another 1 o'clock start, and you talk about the other sports they're up against. NASCAR does start at 2 o'clock, and they're in Chicago, on the streets of Chicago. So a little bit interesting there. I know NASCAR is now on TNT, their cable platform. They also have that race with an alternate cast on True TV, and they do have the race fully broadcast on Max. So 3 different options for the NASCAR race, but we're stuck with the one kind of option with Fox. We kind of talked about it a little bit, and I know a lot of different people talked about this, but what do you think Fox is lacking? For me personally, I feel like it's the streaming aspect of Fox because they don't have that streaming platform.
Yeah, I mean the streaming platform would be great. Would be great for people that are on the go. Such as myself. Sometimes I have to. I could stream. I can stream it on my phone through YouTube TV, but some people may not be able to. That is one thing that NBC has over Fox is they have that streaming platform of Peacock. But I mean, nowadays, I will say this: nowadays, most major cable networks you can stream the channels through your phone or your laptop. So I don't know if if they're really in my opinion if they're really lacking in that area because you can stream Fox on pretty much everything. Now if they were on like FS2 or FS1, some cable networks don't have that. So I don't know. In my opinion, they don't. Like I said, they're not lacking, but it would help. I mean, to have three different options. A simulcast would also be something cool. Even if they put it on, Fox News, a simulcast. I know Will Buxton. He's a great announcer. He's a great asset to IndyCar this year. But I have heard a couple different people that I've talked to that are like, who's this British guy? Doing an American race. It just doesn't sound like IndyCar. It sounds like F1, and that could be a good or a bad thing. So, but a simulcast would be pretty cool. I'd love to see them experiment on that.
Yeah, when I look at the streaming platform, I'm looking at people that don't have cable that stick mainly with their streaming platforms: Hulu, Netflix, Max, Disney Plus, all those. For me personally, I don't have any streaming capabilities. So normally I get a free trial of YouTube TV or Fubo or something like that. So these are different options. But you look at YouTube TV and Fubo, those are very expensive. You're looking at 30, 40, 50, 60. I think YouTube TV is up to like $83 a month now. So when I look at that, that's not feasible. But if you're paying, say, $12 a month for Max or $10 for Netflix, $10 is a little bit more feasible for people. So I honestly believe that is the one area that Fox is doing horrible at, and that's not just for IndyCar. That's for all their programming, whether it's NASCAR, IndyCar, Major League Baseball. I think they could develop an app or a streaming platform that would encompass all their sports. And I know they tried to with Venue, which was a multi company conglomerate that was going to come together, and I think the FCC or something shut that down. So I think Fox really needs to work on that and develop that. And I have heard some rumblings of that, so that would be a great thing going forward, maybe for the 2026 season.
Yeah. Now that I think about that, I mean, if you don't have a major cable network or YouTube TV, you are limited. I mean, unless you have rabbit ears for your TV or an antenna. So, well, that doesn't make sense because you can't stream it on there. I understand what you're saying. That is one thing that they could work on. Definitely.
I'm not used to running this over here. I'm all over the place with buttons, but yeah. So yeah, I think it's definitely something Fox needs to look at. It would definitely. I feel like it wouldn't hurt their ratings at all. It could boost them a little bit for people that don't have regular cable. So we looked at the schedule. Let's look at the past winners at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course. Pato Award won last year. There's our mysterious, guy that's missing most of the weeks, Alex Palou. He never wins anything. He's won here before. You look at the Team Penske trio, Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden, and Will Power. They've all picked up a win here. Colton Hurdas picked up a win. Scott Dixon, Alex Rossi, and Graham Rahal are the past winners here. Anyone stick out to you, Josh, or is there someone that you're shocked that hasn't won at Mid-Ohio before?
I mean, these are your typical cast of characters that typically are the winner or win most of the races. Scott Dixon's been around for so long. I mean, he probably ran the very first race at Mid-Ohio. To be honest, Rossi, that's an interesting one to me. I mean, I don't look at Rossi and I guess I mean it was all the way back in 18, so that was in his younger days. I would love to see Graham Rahal come out and have a fantastic race this week. It seems like he every now and then he'll have a fantastic weekend, but he just can't finish off the win. So and like we said, everyone's chasing Alex Palou right now. Can anyone beat Alex Palou? I mean, it's been proven that he can be beat this year, but it's very, very few and far between.
Yeah, I remember being at the track last year and the last few lap battle there with Pato Award and Alex Palou. That was a pretty good battle. Obviously Pato Award come out on top, but one of the big things that's going to be talked about this weekend is this is the first track that IndyCar has come back to with the hybrid system. So they ran the hybrid system there last year. It was actually the first race of the hybrid system implementation. And the one driver that didn't even take a lap to begin the race was Scott Dixon. He actually had an issue on the pace lap. So this will be interesting to see. I'm actually excited to go and talk to some of the drivers and team owners and team representatives this weekend to see how much advanced the teams have come on the hybrid system.
Yeah, I remember we had a handful of problems last year when they implemented the hybrid system. You had cars that weren't that the hybrid system stopped working on it, or they were misfiring, or it just wasn't working. And I haven't seen or heard of, maybe there probably are, I haven't heard of too many issues this year. So it seems like, outside of like as you've talked about in the past, this thing being shoved into a chassis that is not designed for it. I haven't seen or heard of too many problems this year, so maybe they coming up on a year, they've maybe been able to figure out all the kinks and fix everything that needs to be fixed, other than getting the new chassis out there that's supposedly going to be here in 2028.
Yeah, new chassis coming in 2028, so we won't jigsaw puzzle the car anymore, and hopefully the hybrid has its own designated spot that it's comfortably in the car. But yes, hybrid system. This will be the first race back with that system. Or not back with the system, but the first time. This was the first track that the hybrid ran on in 2024, and we're circling back to Mid-Ohio with the hybrid again. So it's definitely going to be interesting to talk to, like I said, drivers about how much they've gained in knowledge of the hybrid system, obviously from last year to this year. And you kind of touched on it, Graham Rahal. Well, his dad, Bobby Rahal, has actually been named the Grand Marshal for this race. Bobby Rahal being an Ohio native, and Graham as well. Graham's a big Ohio State fan, so I'm not sure what more we can say about Rahal, I see you shaking your head. You may have some other words to say there about the Ohio State, but pretty cool to see Bobby Rahal being the Grand Marshal for this weekend.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, bringing back a legend like Bobby Rahal. I mean, I don't think he's, they're not bringing him back. They're just like putting more focus on him, and hopefully, maybe Graham can come out and do his dad proud and win the race that his dad is the Grand Marshal of. And I mean, I'll leave all my remarks about Ohio State in the behind me, so I'm not going to get into that about that rant. But it's a good thing. I'm excited to see Bobby Rahal out there and see how he does as the Grand Marshal.
Oh, come on. I was hoping for a good Ohio State rant. I know how much you care for the Buckeyes and are excited to see them win the national championship last year.
Please stop.
Well, I mean, hey, those were all facts. I didn't say anything that wasn't factual about the Buckeyes.
Yeah,
love them or hate them.
You also didn't notice. You also didn't mention they lost to a 5-6 team they were 22 point favorite to win in their own house. But we'll leave that alone.
Yeah.
So
yes.
one question I have for you on a topic that we didn't talk about. This is the Honda Indy 200. Do you think Chevy is going to be able to muster up a win this week and ruin Honda's streak and ruin their race?
Well, that's been the big topic on this show quite a bit. Obviously, we've talked a lot about when Chevy going to get a win, when Chevy going to get a win. Well, they won this race last year with the hybrid. And yet again, this is a big topic that is going to be interesting to see and hear about from drivers. But I mean, Honda went into Chevy's race and beat them there, but it's going to be tough. It really will be tough. Looking at Alex Palou, Kyle Kirkwood, they've been obviously the two dominant drivers this year, the only winners this year. But I honestly believe that this track, I think it's going to be a surprise winner. Honestly, I don't think it'll be Palou. Obviously, I think Palou will run well. I think he'd be in the top 3 or 4. 2, 3, 4. Right in that mix. This race always seems to have a little bit of strategy involved. I wouldn't be shocked to see Dixon up there. Obviously, a little bit of rebound from last year, and obviously if it comes into a fuel mileage event, Dixon's always great there. But I'm looking at several drivers, and I can't give too much away because you might pick my driver, so I can't give too much away. But there's definitely a few drivers I have my eye on. Whether it's a Chevy driver or not, that'll be interesting to see. Another thing for me that will be interesting to watch is how Team Penske comes about. Obviously, since the 500, right there, obviously a couple of days before the 500 with the firing of those executives, Tim Cindric, Ron Rzuski, and Kyle Moyer. The team's kind of been off a little bit, so it'd be interesting to see what gets ironed out there if they can kind of turn that ship around.
Yeah, Team Penske definitely needs to figure something out. They hopefully maybe they'll have a players only meeting as we would say, and sit down and figure out exactly what's going on, whether it be with those executives being fired or what is going on with that team this year that they just cannot seem to get out of their own way. Seems like every time they start to take a couple steps forward, something comes out, or or a car crashes or does something, and it just sets them back. So it's not been the best year for Team Penske, and I know Roger's got to be getting a little fed up. I know he's got other things he's dealing with the circuit, but he can't be happy to look at the leaderboard and see that his teams are not doing very well this year.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. When I look at it that way, I mean, Are they just playing things safe so they're not in the headlines again? Are they may not be pushing the envelope as much as other teams just so we don't get hit with another hammer? I mean, those are obviously when you think about Team Penske as a whole, not just IndyCar but NASCAR. You look at IMSA, they get or their qualifying stripped from it. At Le Mans. You look at those things, you see Penske just in the news. If you're following racing, it's in the news, in the news. Maybe they're just playing it safe. They're not pushing it to the extreme there. So they, keep their nose clean and not in the media.
Yeah. I mean, that's a possibility, but the one thing that we say about in other sports, you could be losing, every week, and you could have a scandal come out, but if you cut that one time when you win, boy, they're not going to talk about any of that stuff in the past. They're going to talk about how you won, how you come out and dominated. So if they're only playing it safe, I think they're doing a disservice to themselves because they're bringing more scrutiny on themselves by not performing up to the standards that they've set for themselves, that Roger himself has set for his teams.
I get that. I totally I get where you're coming from, but in other series, it's not like the NFL has a team, or Major League Baseball has a team, or NASCAR has a team, or Formula One itself has a team. Like, this is Roger Penske owning a team, and every time something, whether it was the push to pass scandal or the attenuator scandal, like everything comes down on Penske. Should he be owning a team? Should he be owning the series? When I look at those questions, it's like, okay, maybe we just don't push it all the way. Maybe we just kind of lay low for a little while and get out of this debacle. And I get your point. If they're not pushing, because like I hear it all the time from drivers, in other series. I want my crew chief, I want my strategist to push every little bit they can out of a race car. And if we get caught, we get caught, and we'll suffer the consequences. And I get that in other series, but Roger is the owner, and we're here, year two, still talking about another scandal. So we'll see. I hope they can turn it around. Not. I think more competition is good. And you look at Penske this season, even before the 500, they were okay. They weren't running great. I mean, not for their situation. So we'll just have to see.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, Penske is the biggest, one of the biggest, if not the biggest name in IndyCar. So they are, I guess, technically the IndyCar's team. So if they are laying low and they want to just wait till next year, I guess that's okay. But hopefully they come out firing on all cylinders next year.
Yeah, hopefully, and we'll see. What their driver lineup looks like for next year. We've talked about it a few times before, and what's Will Power doing? Is he retiring? We had the issues last year, or past few years, with his wife and her health. Seems like she's on the mend and doing really well. But I think about Will, and he's been in a series forever. It feels like. So could we be seeing the last of Will Power? I hope not. Just because I feel like he does have that competitor mentality. He's very excited when he wins, and very, I mean, even for a pole position, and his attitude when he's not performing well is rough. I remember for the GP at Indy this year, he was fast. He was super fast, and missed out on the Fast Six by marginal uh, marginal speed, and he was fired up. I mean, I tried to get an interview with him, and It didn't. I walked probably the entire length of pit road with him, and then halfway through the garage area before I knew I wasn't going to get any comment from him. So he was pretty fired up, and it shows he still has that passion. I think he's the only driver in a contract season with Penske. So it'll be interesting to see whether that contract gets signed or if this will be kind of a transition at Team Penske, kind of how we kind of lost Elio a few years back.
Yeah, he's a fiery driver, and I like seeing that. I mean, as much as we love getting interviews with him, but it's showing that he still cares about driving, that he wants to push that envelope, that he wants to win, no matter what his age is or what anyone thinks. So it'll be interesting, as Derik calls it, the silly season over the off season with who goes where and who leaves and who joins what new teams. So I can't wait, and seeing what Penske looks like next year could be a whole new team.
Yes, only time will tell what Team Penske looks like for next year, but it would be interesting to see. But as that team has sponsors that they have to look up to and represent, we also have sponsors that we have to represent. So we have two wonderful sponsors: Always Ready 1776 for all your patriotic apparel, headwear, and more. Check out alwaysready1776.com. Use Push to Pass for 10% off your order, and let them know we sent you by using that code Push to Pass, and you'll save 10%. Gettum Associates for all your design and remodel needs. Use Gettum Associates, and if you find something you like, you can use our code again, Push to Pass, and receive $250 off any design services with Gettum Associates. Josh, now that we have our wonderful sponsors out of the way, anything else for Mid-Ohio that you can think of before we kind of move on?
No, not really. Just looking forward to the race. Hopefully somebody can get up there and challenge the machine that is Alex Palou, and keep him from just making a further runaway with this championship this year.
Yes, the championship is we're removing drivers left and right, I feel like, from being able to compete for the championship. So that would be actually an interesting stat to know, of how many drivers are actually able to still be eligible to win the championship. I'm pretty sure that most of them would still be able to, with as many races left, but we are running out of races. That is definitely one thing that we are doing. So we have some news and notes that we have to talk about that has kind of come out over the last 7 days since we last broadcast, and I think one of the things that was kind of writing on the wall after the race this year, but we had talked a little bit about it, and that is the thermal track, thermal club. It was announced this week from the owners of the thermal club that thermal will not be on the 2026 schedule for the NTT INDYCAR series. I know we kind of talked a little bit about it after the race, but Josh, do you have anything you want to say about thermal not being on the schedule next year?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the writing was kind of on the wall. It was an experimental race to begin with. 2 years ago, it was a race to take the place of another race that didn't happen, and it wasn't a points race. It was more of a money grab that year. The top team won, I think, like $500,000 or something like that. And then this year they awarded thermal an actual points race, and as well as the folks that own that are part of the thermal club and run the thermal club, as much as they did, it just doesn't the track just doesn't scream to me IndyCar. It screams to me, sports cars, or quite possibly sometime, F1 may want to run there. I don't even know if it's up to F1 standards, but I mean, it was a boring race in my opinion. There wasn't much to talk about. Alex Palou dominated the race for the most part and ended up winning. So it's a big blow for the Thermal Club because I know that gets their name out there and gets some more notoriety. But I think with IndyCar looking for more tracks, and I believe next year they've got Dallas on the schedule, so that will probably take the spot of where Thermal was this year.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. Obviously, the writing was on the wall. Kind of felt like the race just wasn't enough, to build the race and make it, enjoyable for the fans. We only had, a limited number of tickets available for fans that actually tune into IndyCar. Being a private club, there wasn't a lot of tickets sold. So when I think of that, what's the market? What's the benefit to IndyCar is the big question there. And I'm like, there's not much. You're not getting the attendance from the fans. So you better hope your TV attendance is high. But at the same time, we talked about it at the time being 3 races in California, that's a little much. I mean, honestly, if we're going to add another race in California, I would be okay with removing Thermal and adding Sonoma back. Sonoma was a great racetrack for the IndyCar series. So another California track, honestly, it's too close to Laguna Seca. If I'm being honest, Sonoma is. So you'd have to pick one or the other. I would be okay with that rotating every couple years. A couple years at Laguna Seca, then a couple years at Sonoma. So just rough for Thermal, obviously. But I think if IndyCar plays the schedule right, it'll be okay. The problem that a lot of fans are going to see is we've lost Thermal. Would we rather have Thermal on the schedule or no race at all? So if you're just removing Thermal because X, Y, and Z is the problem, well, are you removing it because of those problems and then we're not replacing it? So the fans are losing out. And I already feel like the schedule is not long enough now.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Adding races would be a fantastic thing, and with you taking Thermal out, and I mean, so if you take Thermal out and they add Dallas, it will that makes it they're not losing any more tracks next year, right?
Right. I mean, that's basically we're flipping, Thermal out. But if you look at it as why didn't we keep Thermal and Dallas, then you have another race.
Yeah. Okay. Now I understand. I mean, that would be good. Maybe they just couldn't, somehow, some way, figure out how to fit it all into a whatchamacallit, into the schedule, or maybe they're just really happy with with the amount of races they have now, and they were like, let's just get rid of Thermal and go with Dallas. But from a spectator sport, yes, we would love for there to be another race. So taking Thermal away takes a possibility of having a longer season. But I mean, only time will tell. I mean, but there is, like we always say, there's too big a gaps at the beginning of the season for there not to be races. So I would have loved to have been in the negotiation or the sit down talks with IndyCar and the Thermal Club to see why exactly they left. Maybe at a later date we can get Don on and he can elaborate. Maybe he knows some inside of what of why they chose to leave Thermal.
Yeah, Don would be a great asset to talk to about that. But yeah, just when we're taking tracks away, it's hard enough for IndyCar to get a track. You kind of talked about it we have a race, then we go 3 weeks, then we have a race, then we go 3 weeks, then we have a race, and now we're into the busy section where we're gonna have a race, then it's gonna be a week off, then it's just like it seems like all the races are shoved at the back end of the schedule. So definitely be interesting to see when the schedule comes out for next year. I feel like the schedule was pretty close to being released for this year, last year at this time. So be interesting to see how long we have to wait on a 2026 schedule.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, it was about this time they released it last year, so I would probably be anticipating a schedule release here, maybe even this weekend.
That would be that'd be fantastic if we could get one this weekend. But another addition to we talked about Laguna Seca this year. Laguna Seca has a new primary sponsor for the race. Java House Cold Brew Coffee will be the sponsor for this year's Grand Prix of Monterey. Java House being a sponsor of the Ed Carpenter Racing 20 and 21 car. They are coming on board to be the presenting sponsor for the race. Java House is excited. IndyCar has been an outstanding platform for them to grow their brand and connect with a passionate fan base. Partnership continues to grow, and they want to expand their presence to a national stage with more big things to come for the rest of 2025 and beyond. So, looking at this, being out in California is a big market. It's a big area. So I don't, for an Indianapolis-based company, I'm not sure that this race will help boost their marketable shares a lot, just because it would be hard for a local Indianapolis company who has about 12 locations to up and franchise out to California. That'd be a big jump. Obviously, they do have their online sales where you can buy their mix-in K-cup. It's not K-cups. It's just like a coffee pod that you can either add hot or cold water to and have your beverage. So what's your thoughts on Java House being the presenting sponsor of the Grand Prix of Monterey, and where do you think this lies for their business model?
Yeah, it is interesting. Sorry if my audio sounds a little weird. My headphones died on me. So, but Java House, like you said, being an Indiana-based coffee company, I guess they're trying to expand out, make their footprint a little bit deeper. It's an interesting move. We'll see how it plays out. Maybe they get a little bit more notoriety and they're able to start opening up some Java houses out there. I personally don't drink Java. I don't drink coffee, so I couldn't tell you how good their product is. I think you and your wife are more of could tell us more about what Java House is like. I know sometimes you talked about their customer service isn't the best, but you can't blame one company on one bad apple.
Yeah, I did have a bad experience at Java House, and I've had a good experience at Java House in their store in Carmel. So I feel like the coffee's okay. It's coffee. I personally have to watch what I drink at Java House just for dietary. My lifestyle, I guess, is the best way we'll put it. My lifestyle and the things I can and can't have. Honestly, it's a good brand. They've marketed very well this year. I've seen them at every race I've been to. They do a great job with giving away free stuff. I always talk about companies that can give you a direct something, whether it's something that is here in my hand, whether it's Verizon gives away different. I got a pair of earplugs at Indy. Why I needed them, I don't know, but at the same time, they were giving away things. And anytime a company can give me something, I'm all for it. Anytime I can go and directly buy that product, it's great for the sport. And Java House coming on has been great. They're marketable. Strategies have been really well. Like I said, I've seen them in every race I've been to this year. Obviously, we have locations. I know the Ed Carpenter team's been at the Zionsville location here in Indiana, and the Carmel location in Indiana as well. So they're doing a lot for the sport. It's great to see them grow. I do hope they continue to grow and grow, because the more of those kind of businesses we can get in IndyCar, where I can get something and I can also just go to my local grocery store, or I can go to their local coffee shop and buy something. That's just more of a way for me to connect not only with the sport, but also to help grow a brand.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, handing out free stuff is a great tool for advertising, and I couldn't agree more. I hope it's a success for them. With it being an Indiana company, I love seeing Indiana companies thrive and become more nationally known.
Yeah, and it's great. Like I said, that they're helping promote the sport. I always remember going to races when I was younger, and when I say younger, maybe like 10, 15 years ago with a buddy of mine. We'd always try and count. We would go in kind of betting, like, hey, over under how many koozies are we going to walk out of at this racetrack? And that's one thing I don't see a lot of anymore. You don't see a lot of companies handing out koozies, which is kind of sad, because it's kind of takes me back. But when I look at those tangible things, what can I get? Because realistically, we use some technology here on the podcast, but these technology companies that come in, or these big businesses that come in, that don't give the fan necessarily something that they can consume. I always go back to when I was growing up. I was a big Kevin Harvick fan, and he drove, obviously, the GM Goodwrench car after Dale Earnhardt died, but he had the Reese's car. So for me, the only candy I could eat was Reese's, because that was the only company that sponsored Kevin Harvick on the candy side. So if it was a Hershey product, I would eat it. So those things as a kid, I was learning. I was learning brand reputation as a child. And it's really good for companies that advertise, hey, we can give you something. A technology company is great. Obviously, they're helping, a team, and they're also helping the sport grow a little bit. But at the same time, like, I look at these companies and I'm like, for most of them, I have to Google and actually deep dive and figure out what they do. I know Derik does a really good job with that as well, trying to find out more about these companies. But then I go in and I'm like, what is this company even doing? I don't get it. So, and that's not necessarily like, I look at Oracle with sponsoring Red Bull. You use some Oracle products on your computer, but it's not something I'm going out to strive to look for. So when I look at that, and I use Oracle because they're a big name. They are a big name, but it's not something I'm going to their website to buy something. Whereas Java House is a product that I can go and buy, whether it's on Amazon. I know they're sold on Amazon. They're sold on their website where they can ship, or you can just go to the coffee shop if you're local here in Indiana.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I mean, handouts, like, just the more tangible stuff you can walk away with. I mean, I remember going to races when I was younger. So, about the same time you were, and you had Budweiser. Budweiser was on everything: koozies, blankets, chairs, and you could find it everywhere. And there were certain certain guys I knew that only drank Budweiser, because why? Because they sponsored Dale Earnhardt's car, or I know we can't. I know a lot of teams have gone away from cigarettes or beer commercials, but I mean that's some tangible stuff that you can put in someone's hands, brand recognition as it is. So I'm excited for Java House that they got this chance to sponsor a race out in Monterey. Hopefully it expands their business, because expanding business also means creating jobs. I mean, if they can expand out into other markets, other places, that just means they're creating more jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. More jobs is good for the economy. It's good for IndyCar. If we have, the more we purchase IndyCar products, whether it's Java House or we'll talk about another company here in a minute, whether we kind of go in and purchase those items, well, if we spend more money there, then they can give back to the sport more. Now, obviously now with Ed Carpenter Racing having Java House, now they're sponsoring a race. Well, what are they going to sponsor next, or how much more are they going to put into the series? I look at the title sponsor, and NTT has done a lot for the IndyCar series, but besides being a technology company and helping with AI and things like that, like, it's not something you can go and physically. I can't go buy an NTT data, but I can go and buy a Java House coffee, or I can go buy their refreshers, or I mean, they have so many different products than just coffee. That's even the better thing. They have the Wrangler, which is their energy drink you can buy on Amazon. I think actually I've seen it was just sold out, but they have the hydration and different electrolyte drinks as well. So they have a lot to offer their fan base, and that's crucial for different businesses to help grow the sport.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, me and Derik have had in the past conversations about these sponsors that, like you said, we have to Google to figure out who they are, what they are. I believe one of the Swedish drivers had a Swedish candy as a sponsor, but you couldn't get it here in the United States. It's only sold over in Sweden. I mean, and they wouldn't ship over here. So what's the point in having a sponsor of a car in America that you can't get here in America? I mean, I know the races are broadcast all over the world, but it's primarily based out of the United States. Why even have a sponsor like that? Bring back some of the old faithfuls, Budweiser, Coors Light, gambling. I will till the hilt till the day I pass away. I will sponsor, and I will want sponsors from gambling sites to be able to go onto these cars and bring more notoriety to the car, to the series.
Yeah, gambling's a big thing right now, and NASCAR has this in-season tournament going on, which could, be something that IndyCar could look at. Kind of, it's kind of an elimination style bracket. They had 32 drivers, and after week one, obviously it's kind of like the March Madness, and there was a lot of betting aspect around that. That's all I heard about on one of the. NASCAR had a simulcast where there was a former driver and a former crew chief that were just talking about those matchups that were taking place on the track, and it was March Madness style bracket. So I mean, that was a big thing that they talked about last week, and it got more eyes on it because the betting aspect right now is so huge. We have Mike on quite a bit. I'm not sure if he's joining us this week or not, but hopefully he does. If he doesn't, we can talk a little bit about that coming up. But I know Josh is the betting expert when we don't have Mike on, so maybe he can look up a few things quickly and give us some hot takes. But when I look at that kind of thing, the betting markets have just growing and growing and growing and growing. So that's big for racing, and it's big for all sports, but it's really big for racing.
Yeah, but it just doesn't seem like IndyCar wants to go that route. I think they're like once again they just want to be the clean cut white boys that don't get in trouble, that there's no problems, and it's just any they don't want any problems. So that's a big market that I feel that they're missing out on.
Yes, I agree. And we kind of teased this just a minute ago, but another tangible item you can actually buy is Sirius XM. And for kind of our older fans, even to some of our younger fans, I'm a big fan of Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy Osbourne, and their and Sirius XM. Sorry, they have partnered to put together this car, purple and black, kind of catchy car here. I kind of like they're on the front wing Clopay. That's an Ohio-based company as well, out of Troy, Ohio. And the only reason I know that is my father-in-law worked for Clopay for a short time, and I live not far from there. But Felix Rosenquist's car this weekend will feature Ozzy Osbourne and the Sirius XM Ozzy's Boneyard Channel 38. If you have your Sirius XM radio and you want to hear some Ozzy Osbourne and some of that music, you can go to Channel 38. It's a striking purple livery. It's inspired by the channel, and it will feature hard rock and heavy metal classics. Another great thing that Meyer Shank Racing and Sirius XM have done at the Indy 500, they had Creed on the car. So this is just another activation to get more eyes on not only IndyCar, because who doesn't love Ozzy Osbourne and his craziness, but also looking at getting your Sirius XM satellite subscription and watching IndyCar. You can also listen to IndyCar on Sirius XM radio.
Yeah, this is a really cool Liberty. Got Black Sabbath on the tail, on the wing there in the back, and you see Ozzy's face. You can see it just Ozzy's face. Could you imagine driving and you're right beside this car and you look over and you see Ozzy Osbourne's face making that face? You may steer off the side of the track just by being just by seeing that. But this is a really cool Liberty. And the cool thing is that what Clopay is, because just once again, I wouldn't know what Clopay is. I would know it was just a sponsor, but for you to know what that was because your father-in-law was involved with them for a short time is pretty cool. So yeah, and Sirius XM, I know they've been around for the longest time. I think they're probably the best satellite radio company you can get. So this is really good for Meyer Shank being able to pull in a not only Black Sabbath themed with Ozzy, and hopefully Ozzy will be there to do something with the car, as a publicity type of thing and sponsorship. But Creed, and now you got Black Sabbath. Who's going to be next? The Rolling Stones?
Yeah, it's going to be definitely interesting to see who Sirius XM gets next for this for these different artists that they've been putting on race cars this year. Maybe we'll hear some Ozzy Osbourne or Black Sabbath as they're pushing the car to the grid like they did with Creed. I thought that was really good when they had them on the Indy 500. So I don't know if you had time, but I pulled up some betting odds here, just quick. And trust me, I'm not Mike. My name gets shortened to Mike every once in a while, but I'm not Mike by any means. I'm just going to go through like the top four. This is from DraftKings. DraftKings has Alex Palou at a minus 110. Pato Award is at a plus 550. Kyle Kirkwood is at a plus 700. Scott McLaughlin is at a plus 750. On BetMGM, they actually have it worse for Alex Palou at a minus 120. Pato Award is at a 600. Scott McLaughlin is at a 750, along with Colton Herta and Kyle Kirkwood, and Joseph Newgarden's at plus 850. Josh, I know you know a lot more about this betting than I do, so could you kind of help the viewers that are interested talk about what the difference between the negative and the positive is? Because that's always where I get really confused as well.
Basically, when you see odds like that, think of it this way: if you were to have $100, and let's say we were at not Pato, we were Alex Pillow. He's at -110. So that means that he is statistically one of the favorites to win this race. So you would have to make $100. You would have to bet $110. Now, on the flip side, like Pato is plus 550, for every $100 you bet, if he wins, you make $550 back on top of your $100. So that's basically the way you could look at that. Or if you want to break it down even further, if you're not betting $100 for Pillow, for every dollar you bet, you make 90 cents. If he wins, you make 90 cents back. So you're and with Pato, you would be every dollar you bet, you would make $5.50 if he were to win. So, and with Pato being at plus 550, I would probably snatch him up right now, even beforehand, because he's the defending champion here. And he's due for a good showing this year.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying some of those odds for us. If you want to keep track with the betting odds, like I said, Mike hasn't joined us this evening. Hopefully all is well with him. You can go over to X. He posts a lot on there. Weekly betting odds and who his picks are. He's over at Indy_bet on the X or Twitter, whatever generation you come from there, or whatever you want to call it now. I still call it Twitter because just for me it's easier. But yeah, Mike will post all his recaps there and give a little bit more in depth than what me and Josh can do, because that's something he does going weekly. So yeah, I know we kind of talked about what's going to happen, at Mid Ohio this weekend. Had some news and notes. Josh had reached out to me earlier before we got on and said, "Hey, I got a good story." Josh was fortunate enough to go out to Vegas. He didn't have the extreme heat and humidity here. He probably had heat. I don't know if there was any humidity out there. I seen pictures in a pool. I don't have a pool. I had a pool, but I don't have a pool now. So Josh is living the high life out there in Vegas.
You're talking like Derik would talk. I wasn't living the high life, but I was in the pool all day Sunday, and it was a fantastic time. So my story doesn't really have anything to do with IndyCar. It's more got to do with F1. As you know, they'll be going back in November for their third annual race there. And as we were driving to our hotel, Harrah's, we passed by a structure, and it looked like it was a permanent structure from F1. It's something that they built, and it's permanently there it's going to be there forever until they tear it down. And I was talking to our Lyft driver about it, and I said, it's got that has to, be really cool for you guys whenever, they're going down the strip and you know what? The driver said, you would think that it'd be really cool. You got that rich clientele coming in, but it doesn't really boost a lot of money for the city in like 6 months out of the year, because it takes like 6 months to set everything up and then 6 months to tear it down. It just seems like it takes forever, he was saying, for the town to get back to normal. And, you don't get a lot of people, a lot of the normal people coming in because of the room rates are so jacked up. And I said, but they make it out to be like it's this, great thing. And he said, it's just false advertising. And I thought that was really interesting. And he also brought up the fact that permanent structure that's there for F1 didn't even pay to have that built. Las Vegas paid for that to be built, and it's not used other than for F1. They can't use it for anything else. So I thought that was an interesting thing, about these different places that want to get races and how much money they will spend, and sometimes it doesn't actually pay off. I just thought that was an interesting thing, because, and if you look all over Vegas, there's people trying to sell F1 stuff, but it's way overpriced. I know I saw 3 or 4 stores that said that they were seasonal, and they were only open for a limited time. But I went in and I talked to the owners. Said, yeah, we put that up just to try to drive people in, but we're pretty much open every day. So a lot of hype goes into racing, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And I think in this instance, I think the patrons of Las Vegas would rather the race not be there. And that's a really interesting thing, that they would rather them not be there, and they feel like they lose money every weekend, the last couple weekends they've been there.
So, I'd love to fact check everything you said from your Lyft driver. I think this sounds to me, if I'm being honest, it sounds like someone that doesn't care for the inconvenience of Formula One, because it is an inconvenience. City of Chicago is going through it right now. City of Long Beach goes through it with IndyCar when they are setting up and tearing down track. I can assure you of this. It does not take 6 months for them to take it up and take it down. And there's no way a city would agree to shut down major roadways for 6 months. There's no way. I guarantee you that the road is probably, and I know this for a fact, that there's actually structures that Formula One builds, because they bring in all that stuff, the walls, the catch fence, all that. They actually build roadways that go up and over the racetrack, so traffic can still move at a moderate pace. It's not as free flowing as normal, but they still have free flowing. And they actually open up the track. They actually have to move walls so that traffic can move throughout when the cars aren't on track. Obviously, for an extended period of time, they're not going to close it down. They're not going to open it up for 2 hours before qualifying or something like that. But when they're like overnight and things like that, they actually open up those roadways. So I think you have a Lyft driver that doesn't like Formula One coming to town. And I did one thing I did fact check, because I thought it was pretty interesting. The building that you've seen is actually the Paddock building. It's actually now called Grand Prix Plaza, and it was actually paid for by Liberty Media. It was $600 million investment for the city of Las Vegas. Now, you're right. It is owned and operated by Formula One, Liberty Media. And they actually do use the building year round. It's actually the Formula One US headquartered building. I think in that situation, you got a Lyft driver that doesn't care necessarily for, maybe he got stiffed by one of the drivers, didn't get a good tip or something. But and I'm sure it is an inconvenience. I hear it right now with Chicago, the city of Chicago and NASCAR being in town. So it's definitely an inconvenience, but at the same time, I guarantee you the casinos don't mind it, the restaurants don't mind it, because that brings economic impact into that city. Yes, that city doesn't need the economic impact that Formula One brings, but they're definitely not going to turn it away.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, he brought up one thing, and he may just be the fact that it's an inconvenience to him. But he did bring up one thing, and that I looked at the first year. It to be able to stay at the hotels most of the time for these during these F1 weekends, you have to commit to like 3 or 4 days to be able to book a room and they're not the first year. I know I looked and at a lot of places it was booked for 4 nights. The room rates were double and triple the amount that they usually are, and also it and you could if you canceled your trip, you didn't get your money back. Vegas is it's not built on whales. The whales help, or whales are in Vegas term are like the big spenders. They come in and they drop a lot of money. It's not built on that. It's built on me and my wife who show up for a weekend and stay and play a lot and lose a lot, and go here and there. And I feel like Formula One may sometimes price the average person out, and sometimes that average person is what helps different economies grow, in my opinion. I know I don't know, but I would imagine not all the hotel rooms are sold out as much during F1, if I would imagine. But that's just me. I mean, he may have been telling me tall tales, and it may be the economy is booming, but I find it hard to believe that the average person can afford to come in and spend a weekend and spend $4,000 and $5,000 just for their hotel rooms.
Yeah, so I'm actually looking at the MGM Grand out in Vegas currently, and for a room from November 20th through the 23rd, which covers the entire event of Formula One, the total currently is $765, and that's for what, one, two? That's for 3 nights. So I've never been to Vegas except I've never been to Vegas except through the airport. So I've never been to a hotel in Vegas. I've never even looked at. This is the first hotel I've ever looked at in Vegas. So, I mean, that looks pretty standard. I'm looking at like the monthly calendar for November. The Saturday night is bumped up quite a bit. Probably like $200 if I'm being honest. But the rest of the nights are pretty comparable. So, yes, I do know. I heard a lot of complaining about the hotels the first year. The more it goes, the more that they're going to come down. I know they did sign an extension through 2027 for that race. So I think anytime we get a good race venue anywhere, whether it's on the streets, we IndyCar runs a lot on streets, road courses, ovals. Anytime a new event comes around, it brings a lot of excitement, and yeah, the prices do get jacked up quite a bit. So it's definitely interesting to see that grow. And it's motorsports, so I'm here for it.
Yeah, that was just my interesting story. The fact that as much as the media put up, the locals don't like the race. It's just a big inconvenience to them.
And it is. It would be a big inconvenience, because it is shutting down some roadways and quite a bit of roadway, to be honest. So, we talked about F1 quite a bit, and we normally don't talk too much about Formula One, but I don't know if you're going to go or you've had a chance to watch the new Formula One movie, F1 the movies in theaters with Brad Pitt. Me and my wife actually went to go see it this weekend. I actually talked to her. I was like, "Hey, would you want to go see a movie?" And she's like, "Yeah, what movie are you thinking?" I said, "F1 the movie." She goes, "I don't know." So she pondered on it. She's like, "Yeah, we can go. Let's go. We'll have fun." We went to Flicks here in Carmel. They're like a dine-in theater kind of thing. We went at like 10 o'clock in the morning, so we're eating lunch. But honestly, my wife said hands down, it's a good movie. Kept her intrigued the whole time. So yeah, I mean, it's a good movie. I'd give it a good rating. I'd go see it again, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I've heard great reviews about it. Until I see it, I can't really judge it. But I've heard that it's great and that Brad Pitt's great in it. I compare all my racing movies up against the one true racing movie, Days of Thunder, and Tom Cruise, that's that or. The one is Driven, the one with Helmsworth about he's it's the F1. They go from F3 to F1 back in the 70s.
The one with Sylvester Stallone.
No, not that one. The one
That's
that
Driven.
Helmsworth. It was about oh god, the race car driver. He was a really brash type of guy, and he ran up against the guy. Ended up getting burned. It's about F1. I know that.
Rush.
There you go. Rush. I think Rush and Days of Thunder are probably my two favorite ones, but Days of Thunder will probably goes just a little bit above Rush. But I would love. I'll have to go see the new F1 and see how it stacks up against it.
I thought it was pretty good cinematics and things like that. So any kind of racing movie, I will go and check out. So I think the last thing we really need to touch on, our weatherman hasn't joined us this evening. He must have had prior commitments as well. Is just kind of the weather. Looks like it's going to be pretty sunny, pretty warm. There is a chance of showers and storms in the evening on Sunday. It doesn't look like there's going to be any impact currently to the race. But if there is, good thing we have rain tires for the NTT INDYCAR Series. But if you want to, keep an eye on the weather, weatherman here, he'll put out some good stuff closer and closer to the race. Follow him at INDYCAR_WXman, and he'll keep us updated on all the weather concerns for this weekend. But currently, according to his forecast, he's not currently projecting any impacts for this weekend.
Good to hear. Maybe I know the fans, with it being out there in the middle of nowhere, may have wanted some overcast a little bit. Let's get that sun out of the way a little bit. But if it's going to be a clear, crisp day and we get some good racing in, I'm sure the fans will understand not having as much shade and being able to watch a great race.
Yeah, we're excited for a great race this weekend. At Mid-Ohio. Josh, is there anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here this evening?
No, not today. It's been a great show. I will say to all our Canadian followers, if there's any Canadian followers or anybody watching from Canada, happy Canada Day, eh? Other than that, we're going to see y'all next week when we're going to review Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, we'll review Mid-Ohio next week, and make sure you follow us on our social media pages there. The official Push to Pass podcast is on X or Twitter. That's mainly where I will be posting a lot of the stuff this weekend when I'm out there at the racetrack. So make sure you head on over there and follow us over there. But until next week, for Josh and me and Derik, who's got prior obligations this evening. We kind of missed him here. I did on the technology side of things anyway. We will see you next week.